And I never drank and I never smoked. I never laid out in the sun and toasted myself. I'd have more wrinkles now than I did. I don't think that when we're young that we're ever going to be old.
I mean, today is a good time, but it's a little slower than the good times we had before. My friend Bob downstairs, who's a marathoner, and he was around just over 3 hours for a marathon, and now we have to drive to the marathon. Going to Peggy's Cove. I used to cycle to Peggy's Cove. 56 I did Ironman, and now I have to walk. The biggest worry I have
向北方向
to drive.
I don't particularly appreciate being offered help with something I can do by myself. So you need to be given the chance to do it by yourself. Like, obviously, I let myself in and out of my door every single day. But if someone's coming into my apartment with me, they have a tendency to want to hold the door for me. I don't really need that.
We have a dishwasher, but well, I guess I'm the dishwasher. We do have one, but I never use it, and I do them better than my wife. And I dry the cutlery. I put it away. I don't let it sit there. Then I hid that. Chocolate bars, I left them out, and I didn't want you to see them, so I hid them. I didn't want anybody to see them because they might want one. I just like everybody to know that old people were once young, and we did stuff when we were young. And aging is not for the meek. It's all going to happen. You just have to take it one day at a time and keep moving, keep moving, keep moving.
I have a lot of teas. I have white teas in the summer. Everybody has to come and wear white. And I have birthday teas, and I have a group that's called Club 31 from our church. We're all born in 1931, so every year I have a tea. And then all July babies at the church, I have another tea for them. But I have teas all through the year. If you aren't getting out, have somebody in. Invite people into your house, and you'll be surprised how much they have appreciated being invited and how much you will enjoy yourself. You don't have to have a fancy tea. A cup of tea and a cookie if you want. That's all. You don't need a lot.
We try to get to the park every day and go for a walk in the park. And we have a group of old people that meet down there and have a coffee. And on Friday we have a little toast, a sambuca, to cheer another week above the ground. Growing old is a blessing because so many people don't. I'm lucky. I can still get around. I can still do things. I don't always make sense, but most of the time.
My most precious jewel, a gift I got from my husband. I can't wear it on my finger. It's much too big for that. And it did come in its own case. It's my auto harp. He would buy me gifts that would affect our quality of life. And by buying me an auto harp, we could do music together because he played a few instruments and we started to sing together. I'll show you what makes it an easy instrument in a sense. Oh, you'll like this.
行驶400米后，向右转。
It's been some years got you, don't toss and turn all night. I started going out with him when I was 15, got married when I was 19. He turned 20 on our honeymoon, and we were married for 65 years. My credo, I suppose, is to live in the present, live in the moment.
向右转。
On the past, and don't try to wish time away. Every single day is precious. And the most important thing is be social, be with people.
Oh my God. Bless you, fellow darling.
Line dancing, this was a dance that didn't have to have a partner.
Right, sway left and shuffle to the side. Sway.
My husband was good at composing music and poetry and songs, but he couldn't get the music down to his feet. So
rock side, rock back, rock step. Walk.
This way you don't need a partner, and it's wonderful because there's a lot of people who don't have partners and they love dancing in the system.
行驶600米后，向左转。
Hello, darling, hello, darling, it's so nice to have you back where you belong. You're looking sweet,
向左转。
Those are Barb Waldner, Jocelyn Cooper, and Don Smith. Thanks to our producers Ann Penman, Mary Catherine McIntosh, and Inez Calabrese for capturing their voices. Our series As We Age was produced by Inez Calabrese and Melly Gumish. The response to the series was incredible. Thank you to everybody who was so generous in sharing your stories with us. Coming up after your regional update.
The betrayal of someone choosing someone else instead of you as their child is really hard. That's probably one of the hardest things to recover from.
When Robin Heald's stepfather was in jail for the sexual assault of her and her siblings, they told their mother she had to make a choice, him or them. As Robin feared, she chose him. In 90 seconds, Robin tells her story and talks about why she has dedicated her life to protecting others. I'm Matt Galloway. You're listening to The Current. We're back in just a minute and a half. Stay with us.
Good morning. It is 9:30, and right now in Regina, it is mostly cloudy and 19 degrees. In Saskatoon, a break from the rain showers we were seeing earlier. It now is mostly cloudy and 16 degrees. You're listening to CBC Radio 1. Here's a look at what's coming up in your news.
行驶400米后向左转。
Challenging the findings of the Neil Stonechild inquiry has won a defamation case against a University of Regina professor. Stonechild's freezing death in 1990 in Saskatoon led to an RCMP investigation, a judicial inquiry, and the firing of 2 police officers. Candice McLean published a book called The
向左转，然后向右转。
Two Officers. U of R professor Michelle Stewart publicly called that book racist garbage. The court ruled that comment was defamatory and awarded
向右转。
dollars in damages. Also in your news, the Lac La Ronge Indian Band says it invested in air scrubbers after wildfires in 2015. Those purifiers are installed at halls in 6 Lac La Ronge Indian Band communities, acting as fresh air shelters for people who need to escape the smoke. And they're also installed in band offices and health clinics. We're going to hear more about that and more about the aftermath of some fires. That's coming up in your news.
Hello again, I'm Matt Galloway, and you're listening to The Current. You might remember the headlines. Last summer, Andrea Skinner, daughter of renowned Canadian author Alice Munro, revealed that she was molested by her stepfather. Her mother chose to remain with her husband even after he was arrested, convicted, and sent to prison. The news shocked the literary world as critics and fans struggled to reconcile Alice Munro's legacy as a Nobel Prize-winning author with the seemingly unfathomable choices she made in her personal life. Robin Heald was not among those who were shocked, and that is because in many ways her life has mirrored Andrea Skinner's. Today we bring you the story of a daughter and a mother. This is John Chipman's documentary, It Ends With Me, and a warning, this story deals with the sexual abuse of children.
Testing. Yeah, I'm just here at Kennedy College. I'm standing outside of Mucho Burrito, just off Highway 401 that cuts through Toronto. Here we go. Boop, 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 boop. Waiting for Robin Heald, who pulls up in her well-worn red minivan. Hello, how are you? Good. So nice to meet in person. Absolutely. Welcome. She's heading east to Kingston, Ontario, from Kitchener, where she works, 4 hours away. Well, how's the drive been so far?
Well, I've had lots of company. I was chatting with Andrew briefly, and
It'll be a long drive. It's a big weekend.
Starting route to Heather Morrison's home.
Much of the family's gathering for a birthday party for an older brother who's turning 60. Is your mom coming to that as well?
no, we kind of do a Chinese wall as far as get-togethers and make sure we respect everyone's boundaries. Absolutely.
A boundary between her family and her mom. Robin's mother had 5 children, 4 girls and a boy. Robin is the youngest.
When I was 2, my parents separated, and my mother moved us into an apartment, and our stepfather entered the picture as a boyfriend at that point.
A man her mother would go on to marry. A relationship that would change the course of Robin's life.
up until the age of 5, my stepfather groomed and abused me, and I was sexually abused quite significantly for many years.
Robin was not alone. Her stepfather was also sexually abusing her 3 sisters.
When I was 12 years old, my oldest sister came forward and said, enough is enough.
That her stepfather had been sexually abusing her.
And that's the first time that Family and Children's Services asked all the questions that they should have asked earlier.
Robin's mother and stepfather signed agreements with Child Protection Services. He agreed to, quote, terminate all sexual behavior with his stepchildren, while she agreed to report any suspicions of sexual abuse. But little changed. Almost 2 years later, Robin told a police officer that her stepfather had been having sexual intercourse with her, quote, once a month for a couple of years. A child protection worker was present for that interview, along with Robin's mother. I contacted the Smith Falls Police Service, whose officer interviewed Robin. When asked why charges weren't laid at that time, a statement from the police chief said he was not able to comment due to the historical nature of the incident. Despite Robin's allegations to police and child protection, her situation at home still didn't change.
I was not removed from the home, nor was my stepfather. And you might find that alarming, and in retrospect, I find it absolutely astounding. During that time frame, Family and Children's Services had a different mandate where they assessed each situation individually and decided if it was the right thing for the family to have that person removed from the home or the child removed from the home.
I reached out to Family and Children's Services of Lanark, Leeds, and Grenville, which is responsible for child protection in the Ottawa Valley region where Robin grew up in the 70s and 80s. An official said the agency was unable to offer comment on specific cases for privacy reasons. But she did note that there have been many regulatory and legislative changes governing the mandate and delivery of child welfare services in Ontario over the past 4 decades.
I'm very happy to report that Family and Children's Services moved far away from that model, where that is no longer the case. Unfortunately for my journey, I stayed in the home until I was kicked out when I was 16 years old. That was 4 years with the offender and myself as the victim in that home together, with Family and Children's Services coming in for family therapy every single week.
Caseworkers would ask Robin and her sisters what was happening in the household in the presence of their stepfather.
Afterwards, we would get in trouble. And then we started to each shut down. Like, we said very little after that. It was not a therapeutic environment at all and put us more at risk than helping.
Robin's mother was present as well.
She suspected it was going on and she heard it was going on.
Yet Robin says she didn't see her mother do anything to protect her or her sisters, although Robin acknowledges that she might have made efforts she wasn't aware of. Her mother had a common refrain.
I'm doing the best I can, and I truly believe it.
Robin believes her mother, but she really was only able to do so much.
She was missing the protective instinct that a lot of parents have, where you give your children unconditional love and protection.
Today, Robin is in her mid-50s. She's equal parts warmth, kindness, and a finely tuned emotional distance from her past. Traits calibrated over decades of therapy and self-reflection and care. How long did it take you to get to this point?
55 years. A very long time. And it was like a long process. It wasn't just like...
While Robin's mom won't be at the family gathering, Robin's still making a point of seeing her. They have a separate lunch planned, along with Robin's sister Heather.
We're going to take her to Swiss Chalet, her favorite restaurant. Now, I just want to clarify one thing. I don't think I drive across the province to see my mom. When I'm back in town for another reason, I let her know. And if it's convenient for us to connect, we do. And if it's not, I don't.
It's a nice and important distinction for you.
It is, for sure.
What is your relationship like with your mom?
I would say tenuous and careful. It's something that has changed so very many times. Had ups and downs, a lot of hurt and heartache, and now some understanding.
Robin has come to believe that her mother wasn't simply being callous while she and her sisters were being abused. She She just chose to focus on other things.
We were a family that missed a lot of economic stability. So there were times where 100% of her focus was on making sure the mortgage is paid and making sure there was enough food on the table, providing for her family. And in her perspective, that was providing for us as opposed to protecting. She didn't have the capacity to see there was a possibility for both.
Robin wasn't getting the support and protection she needed at home or from child protection workers or police. She did find some in other places.
One of the programs that I was involved in, which was hugely meaningful, was with a group of young teenagers. We had all been either abused by fathers or stepfathers.
Among the things Robin says she learned there, tips on how to fend off her stepfather's sexual advances. She was 12 years old.
And that's the first time I didn't see myself in a silo, that I was the only one in the world going through this.
Robin loved her support group, but it created a strange dichotomy with her home life.
It was very Jekyll and Hyde-like. So I might be going after school to be with this group. We'd have pizza, we'd have like a couple of hours together, and then I would go right back to my home where my stepfather continued to live. And the only way that the abuse was stopped was when I had the strength to say no and to withstand all of the emotional abuse that happened with each and every no. You had no privileges. If you looked at something the wrong way, you would be grounded.
By the time she was 16, Robin started dreaming of a future away from her abusive home life. She became fixated on going to university. She knew she'd have to pay for it herself, so she got a job at a local donut shop and started to work. A lot.
I was going to school full-time, and I began working 40 hours a week. And was almost never at home other than to sleep. And at that point, they still expected my chores to be done. And they felt that if I was not doing all of my chores every day as expected, that I shouldn't live there, and they kicked me out of the home. And that was really a turning point.
Robin's mother says she can't remember the details about why Robin moved out. The family was living in Smiths Falls, Ontario. Because Robin had just turned 16, she says the local child protection agency was no longer required to help her find housing. Robin had no idea how to find a place to live.
I'm a 16-year-old. I looked at the ads. I don't know what's involved with all of these, like apartments and room and board, and I need support as well as a place to live.
So Robin went to her high school guidance counselor for help.
And she shared my story amongst our school staff team. And the vice principal's wife was good friends with a lovely woman who has rented rooms over the years to people. And she agreed to let me stay with her.
Robin's new landlord became a crucial mentor. The woman taught her some important life lessons, including one Robin learned when she went back to pick up some of her belongings from her parents' place.
And when I went back and got mine, I was accused of stealing. And that's where I learned about the unconditional love of my very good friend, Ruby Gilroy. You know, I was terribly upset on the phone with my mother, and she asked for the phone, and she told my mother, "How dare you treat this person this way?" And I thought, wow, that's how you love and protect people.
Finally free from her abusive home life, Robin says she continued to flourish. She and her 3 older sisters decided to go back to police about the abuse. This time, Glenn Calvin Young was charged with 9 sex offenses, ranging from gross indecency to sexual assault and sexual intercourse. The judicial process ended with the Crown cutting a deal with him. Young pleaded guilty to 4 offenses, 1 for each of his stepdaughters. He declined a request for an interview. On April 29, 1991, Glenn Calvin Young was sentenced to 2 years less a day in prison, plus 3 years probation. Looking back, Robin wishes she pushed harder for a trial.
That's probably one of my regrets in life. I felt the pressure from the Crown on resolving this through a plea, which is beneficial for the accused, beneficial for the system. But I don't believe it was beneficial to me.
After he began his sentence, discovered she needed to make a choice.
If you have our stepfather back in your life when he returns from jail, you have made the decision to not build this relationship with us.
And as Robin feared, her mother took their abuser back once he was released.
The betrayal of someone choosing someone else instead of you as their child is really hard. That's probably one of the hardest things to recover from.
As we get closer to Kingston, the strangeness of this road trip is becoming increasingly apparent.
So, I think that decision that you and your siblings made seems like a one that a lot of people would understand and relate to. But we're going to see her tomorrow, so what changed for you? Why are you doing this?
I think that I have reached the level in life of forgiveness and the ability to maintain a level of relationship that's distantly comfortable, more like you would have with a distant relative than a mother-daughter relationship.
What do you get out of it, though, do you think? What is the positive thing that you get out of this relationship, given all the trauma and turmoil that it's caused you?
I think this is just one of the many, many, many issues that I've had over the years. And it's a huge sense of accomplishment that I've been able to work through every single mommy issue, every single attachment issue.
After 2+ hours of driving, we've made it to Kingston. Robin drops me off at my hotel, and we finalize plans for the next day.
So you switch on that?
Yes, absolutely.
I'll do that.
I'm finding myself anxious about meeting Robin's mother. I can't imagine what the build-up is like for her.
Hi there, how are you?
Robin's oldest sister, Heather, is the first to arrive for lunch.
How are you doing?
I'm fragile. I'm overtired.
And then Robin and their mother, Shirley Young, arrive.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, finally, eh?
At 81 years old, Shirley sports dark rimmed glasses and her curly white hair is thinning and cropped short. She moves slowly with the aid of a 4-pronged walking stick. We head inside and order lunch.
I'm going to share a sweet potato fry.
Sitting in the bustling restaurant, Robin and Heather appear at ease with their elderly mother. The burden of their past trauma is tucked away neatly out of sight. While we wait for our food, the conversation turns to knitting. Heather's taking a certification course to become a master hand knitter. She's brought one of her projects, a Shetland hat.
So this is version 6. And I still have some work to do before I perfect it.
What's the matter with it?
What's the matter with it?
Yeah.
Well, there's about 8 things the matter.
We to keep the scope of when we're getting together quite small and contained and in quite a controlled environment. And, we make sure it's as comfortable as it can be and as beneficial as it can be.
Shirley says her focus for their visits is simple.
Oh, God, just to see the kids. I'm getting older and they're getting older. I would have to see them more often.
You don't see all your kids.
No. Just two of the only ones that I see.
Do you understand why it's so hard for the kids to maintain this relationship?
With me? Yeah. How might it take?
I think it's amazing you have any kind of relationship with your kids at all. Like, it's pretty remarkable that they have invited you back into their lives.
I know that.
Shirley, why are you still in a relationship? I mean, I don't know your husband, but I know the damage that he's caused.
Financial. I could never make it myself. That's the only reason.
Your whole life, like, there's never been a point in life where you felt like you could look after yourself. Knowing the impact that it's had on your relationship. You have 2 daughters here who maintain a relationship with the other kids who don't. It's like,
As long as years ago, I didn't know where to go. I was through one mess before with the kid's father. Went through the door with 5 kids. I couldn't do it again. I know it sounds crazy to you guys, but that's the only way I can think at the time.
Shirley Robin, Heather, and her other daughters, even though she was present during the interview Robin gave to police about her stepfather's sexual abuse when she was 13.
I don't know why I didn't catch on sooner. I don't know why. I never figured that out.
I don't think you were able to hear us when we did tell you.
I can't see that. I heard you.
It's a painful sticking point to this day. Shirley claiming ignorance, Heather and Robin seeing it as willful ignorance, or worse. Robin believes it didn't just endanger her and her sisters.
You babysat children after that. I just couldn't fathom your thought process for babysitting anyone and the potential for more damage to be caused.
Just so we're clear, this is babysitting your husband's home in the house.
Yeah.
What were you thinking about the circumstances that you could protect the kids from the husband?
Yeah.
How you would do it? Or...
No, I'd be more aware of what can happen and watch things better.
But isn't that reason not to babysit kids?
Yeah, I was trying to do a favor to somebody.
Shirley says she's a sexual abuse survivor as well. When she was 3, she says she was sexually assaulted by a family friend, a 9-year-old boy, and then by a relative from the time she was 9 until 16 or 17. And then there was Robin and Heather's father, Charlie Morrison. And how old were you when you got into a relationship with him?
13.
And he's 25 years her senior.
Meaning he was in his late 30s, and she was barely a teenager.
He was basically,
pedophile. That's what he was.
so how were you exposed to Dad at that age?
He had an the paper for a babysitter for his kids. And Mother went, yeah.
Shirley's mother took a job nannying for Charlie's first family. They both moved into his house.
And one thing led to another. We moved down there when I was 13. Charlie was messing around with me.
Sexual abuse that eventually led to her getting pregnant. She had 5 children with him. If you yourself experienced abuse as a child, how do you end up in a relationship with someone who is going to do the same thing to your own kids? Like, how does that happen?
I don't know.
But that's the nature of generational trauma. You know, Mom isn't the only woman who has gone from a traumatized childhood to traumatized adult relationship after traumatized adult relationship. And so many never break that cycle.
Shirley still lives with Robin's stepfather, who's in his late 80s. What is your life like, Shirley?
Mine? Yeah. Pretty good.
What is it that makes your life good?
Well, I don't owe nothing. All I got to pay is my rent and my phone. I can do my crafts, all I want. I feel very lucky.
What is your life like with your husband?
Good days and bad days, you can always have. It's hard, also hard to sometimes take from saying something you shouldn't say, I guess. Other than that, it's okay. I just ignore that part of it. But I had more good than bad. I know when kids don't understand that part. I don't expect it to. But my kids are not going to take care of me. I gotta take care of myself.
Weeks later, I meet up with Robin again in a different setting.
Yeah, maybe can you just tell us where we are right now?
Kitchener, really.
Robin has worked hard to build something positive out of her traumas. She's executive director of Child Witness, an advocacy and support agency in Kitchener, Ontario, where she helps provide services that weren't available to her and her sisters.
The world has changed for victims and witnesses with this generation of victim support, and this is one of the tools that we have in our tool belt where we welcome children and youth and their caregivers as they navigate this treacherous journey.
Child Witness helps kids and their caregivers navigate the criminal justice system.
We're one block from the courthouse, and what we have here is a safe haven for children and youth to be able to navigate the judicial process, and we have lots of really great resources.
Like helping kids and their caregivers understand how the justice system works, what the rights are. Thus, Child Witness caseworkers will accompany them to all their meetings, explaining who they'll be seeing and why, and then separate in afterward.
There's a lot of wait time in this process, and this is the room that's hopefully that comfy, cozy, welcoming place for them as they're just recouping. And
the agency even has a remote testimony room, complete with a CCTV link to the courthouse, so children can testify here rather than in court. But Robin says the real highlight is Monet.
I'd like to introduce you to Caitlin, who is Monet's primary handler and Monet's favorite human.
Monet is Child Witness's therapy dog, a golden retriever / lab mix who thumps her tail happily as Robin sings her praises.
Exactly. And so Monet is the star of the show. So children, if they have an affinity for a furry friend, they have the opportunity to have Monet join them for their more tender parts of their journey, whether it's their testimony day, the day they do their victim impact support.
Later that evening, I meet up with Robin and her daughter, Sarah, to go for dinner.
Take a right, take Street East.
Robin showed me some of your artwork.
Take a left.
I haven't been drawing much, but I have been juggling a lot, practicing my juggling skills.
Sarah is studying renewable energy techniques at a college here in Kitchener. Her brother Colin attends university in nearby Waterloo.
The most astounding thing about Sarah and Colin is both of them master things. And sometimes it's something incredibly obscure, like juggling. They work on things in a self-driven sort of way that's absolutely magical.
Robin says she waited for quite a while before becoming a parent. She wanted to make sure she was ready.
I always knew I wanted to have children. It was a matter of when. I needed to feel comfortable that I could do it and have the strength to do a really good job and be unconditionally loving and supporting.
My parents have both always been very supportive and very protective, and they're always encouraging us to do what we want in life, and they're always telling us that we should have standards for how people should treat us.
Robin didn't hide the traumas of her childhood or how she overcame them.
She talks about psychology a lot and about her process of healing a lot. Obviously, she would never tell me the details of any particular incidents, but broadly, I kind of have a picture of what her home life was like growing up. I think we should get Carnitas.
I'm going to recommend you then a naturalized
For Robin Heald, it's why she endured for moments like this with her own children.
Well, I think that I've made it my absolute mission in life to make lemonade. Make lemonade out of it for me personally, in victim services and in the life of my family and every future generation of my family, to ensure that the cycle of trauma ends. It absolutely ends with me.
The documentary is produced by John Chipman from CBC's Audio Documentary Unit with help from Julia Poggle and Joe Clever. That is The Current for this Thursday, the 19th of June. Q is up next on CBC Radio 1. Tomorrow on the program, bit of a celebration as we head into summer. We're going to take you to a wild dance party. People showing off great moves on the dance floor, DJs hammering the best music. You might think, well, this is in the wee small hours, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. No, this is all before dark. Daytime dancing, it's a thing. As people get older and want to perhaps drink less, or they just want to have a good time and also get a good night's sleep, some nights at the club are turning into afternoons of dancing. We will talk about that. It's a story about a lot of things. It's about music, it's about dancing, it's about people drinking less, and people as they get older. We've been talking about conversations around getting older. As they get older, still wanting to do the things that they did when they were younger, just at a more reasonable hour. We'll tell you more about that coming up, and we'll play some of the music that you have to hear as you get set for the first day of summer. That's coming up tomorrow on the program. I'm Matt Galloway. Thanks for listening to The Current.
This is
CBC Radio 1, 94.1 FM in Saskatoon, 102.5 FM in Regina, 540 AM across the province. Hey Terry, why is there so much dancing in commercials these days? Why do ad makers hire so many celebrities?
Oh, this is John Hamstock.
And speaking of celebrity, whose voice is that?
Go Bacon! Go Bacon! Go Bacon!
If you have questions, Terry O'Reilly has the answers. Ask Terry on Under the Influence. This morning at 11:30, 3:30 p.m. in Newfoundland, and on demand on CBC Listen. Tonight at 9:30 in Newfoundland, it's Q.
I'm Talia Schlanger sitting in for Tom Power. Oscar winner Domi Shi has made a new animated movie called Elio. It's a story about an oddball 11-year-old who dreams of getting abducted by aliens. But as you'll hear, it's really a film about how we navigate loneliness. This is CBC News. It is 10 o'clock, and right now it's mostly cloudy and 19 degrees in Regina. In Saskatoon, it's mostly cloudy as well, and 16. Good morning. I'm Tori Gillis. The Lac La Ronge Indian Band wants to eventually put air scrubbers in its members' homes. That's Chief Tammy Cook-Searson's goal after seeing how effective they are. After the 2015 wildfires, the First Nation installed the air purifiers in community halls, and those are now used as fresh air shelters when wildfire smoke becomes hazardous. Cook-Searson says ideally every home will be outfitted with a purifier.
There's no place like home. If you can be at home and to be able to air purify your own air in your own home, then you won't have to leave.
Cook-Searson says air quality evacuations are hard on people, and the First Nation wants to avoid that as much as possible. A judge has ruled in favor of an author whose book signings were canceled following public backlash. Candace McLean published The Cold Hard Facts in 2016. The book challenges the findings of an inquiry into Neil Stonechild's death. The Indigenous teen was found in 1990 in Saskatoon. His freezing death led to an RCMP investigation, a judicial inquiry, and the firing of 2 police officers. University of Regina professor Michelle Stewart called the venues hosting McLean's book signings and urged them to cancel.
I spent a fair bit of time setting up book signings with 3 chapters, bookstores, and then when they phoned and said, we're sorry, we have to cancel because we can't guarantee your safety after some of the calls we've been receiving.
Stewart also described the book online as racist garbage. The court found that comment defamatory and ruled Stewart had also interfered with McLean's contracts. McLean was awarded $6,400 in damages. It's 2 minutes now after 10 o'clock, and it is 16 degrees in Saskatoon, 19 in Regina, and mostly cloudy in both cities. This is CBC News. As Israel and Iran continue to exchange missile and drone fire, it's still not clear if the U.S. will be actively joining the Israeli campaign. But if it does, it could mean the U.S. needing approval of the British government. Anna Cunningham explains.
Britain is weighing up where it would stand if the U.S. decides to get directly involved in Israel's strikes on Iran. The U.S. has reportedly moved bombers to a joint military base it shares with the UK in Diego Garcia, an archipelago in the Indian Ocean. It's unclear if they include the B-2 stealth bombers that carry the 30,000-pound heavy bunker buster bombs needed to destroy an underground nuclear site deep in the mountains of Fordow in Iran. But if the US wants to launch strikes on Iran from the joint base in the Chagos Islands, Diego Garcia, or from the UK's base in Cyprus, then Trump would need the permission of the British Prime Minister, Keir Starmer. The next 48 hours could be pivotal. Friday, British, German and French foreign secretaries are scheduled to meet with their Iranian counterparts for direct talks in Geneva. Anna Cunningham, CBC News, London.
Here in Canada, the Assembly of First Nations wants the Governor-General to join its opposition to Bill C-5. That's making its way through the House, calling for speeding up the approval process for major industrial projects. Olivia Stefanovich reports.
I think we always have to make sure that we protect our democracy in this country, and I think that it's not being protected.
National Chief Cindy Woodhouse-Nepanak is speaking to any parliamentarian she can this week about concerns the Assembly of First Nations has with the federal government's major projects bill. legislation to build infrastructure and energy projects more quickly. Now she's calling on Mary Simon, the first Indigenous Governor General, to intervene.
I'm sure she's got powers to talk to government about slowing things down, doing things in a good way.
University of Alberta law professor Eric Adams says Simon can consult, but she can't interfere in the political process.
She has to be mindful that she's not looking like she's taking particular sides.
The major projects bill is expected to pass this Friday with Conservative support. Olivia Stepanovich, CBC News, Ottawa. And that's your news. Taking a look now to your weather for CBC Saskatchewan. In south and central areas today, a mix of sun and cloud with a chance of showers or thunder showers and a high up to 28 degrees. For the north today, you can also expect a chance of showers across the region with highs reaching up to 21 degrees. You're listening to CBC Radio 1.
I don't know if you had this feeling when you were a kid. I did. I think a lot of people do. Like maybe you don't totally fit in where you are. Domi Shi, who by the way is an Oscar winner, grew up with that feeling. She'll tell you about finding her sense of belonging in animation school and about making the new Pixar film Elio, where the main character finds his sense of belonging in outer space. Plus, there's a reason Tim Crouch doesn't want his actors to hear this conversation today. It's because they're not supposed to know anything about the show until the day they perform. Tim will tell you about an entirely unique theater experience that A-list actors really want to be a part of. I'm Talia Schlanger, sitting in for Tom Power. Welcome to Q. When you're trying to fit in as a kid, what are some of the things you do? Maybe you pretend that you like certain music or TV shows, or you get a special haircut, wear really specific clothes like the other kids in your class. Well, the star of Pixar's new animated film, Elio, has a different idea. You okay?
I'm trying to get abducted by aliens.
That's Elio. He is a sweet 11-year-old boy who is totally obsessed with space. And when his dream comes true and he gets abducted by aliens, he suddenly finds himself with a lot of responsibility.
I am the leader of Earth.
Why is your voice different?
I've always talked like this since I was a kid, which I'm obviously not anymore, but yes, I run the planet.
Elio makes its way to theaters on June 20th. Domi Shi is one of the film's directors. You might know Domi as the writer and director of the Pixar movie Turning Red. It was this wonderful movie set in Toronto about a 13-year-old girl who transforms into a giant red panda. Very memorable. Domi Shi also made the Oscar-winning short film Vow. And she made time to talk to me about her work with Pixar on their latest film, Elio. Domi Shi, welcome to Q.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. I saw the film this morning. It is so beautiful. It's clearly an enormous commitment to make a movie of this magnitude and to direct it several years in the making. What was it about the story of Elio that made you want to sign on as a director?
Yeah, I just immediately identified so much with the character Elio. I feel like a lot of us have been that weird, lonely kid in our hometowns who felt like no one really wanted them or understood them, and they were dreaming to find a place where they could belong. And for me, that was animation school. I remember like when I was living, you know, as an immigrant kid in Toronto, like back in the day, like not a lot of kids liked anime. Until, you know, I finally felt like I found my tribe. I found my people once I went to Sheridan College. And I feel like for Elio, that's that moment when he gets abducted by aliens and he arrives at the Communiverse and he finally feels like, oh my gosh, like I have to do whatever it takes to stay here.
I knew aliens were looking for me. You saved my life. I promise I'll put my weight on this spaceship. Is this the spaceship?
So that drive, that passion to like find your place, like I really identified a lot with that.
Sheridan College is a lot closer than the Communiverse, which is in outer space. So, good job. I mean, as you're saying, there's so much of your own personal story that resonates here, but this film's also based on Adrian Molina's experience as well. People know him as the writer and co-director of the film Coco. can you tell me a little bit more about the backstory of the film itself?
Yeah. So at Pixar, like a lot of our films, like most of our films, kind of come from a very personal place for the directors. And for Adrian, it really was, like he was, it was inspired by his own life growing up on a military base. He was the artsy kid. His dad worked on the base, and he and I and our other co-director, Maddie Sharafian, we had that similar feeling when all of us went to our own separate animation schools. And, like, for me, just really, like, being that kid and you are surrounded by people that you don't quite understand, you feel like maybe there's something wrong with me, maybe it's this place, but then deep down maybe you are afraid that maybe it's not the place, maybe it is me. I think that's kind of the brooding fear that is kind of like driving Elio, and I think that is something that we all kind of tapped into as we were making this movie, of like, okay, he does want to belong somewhere, but deep down it is like he is kind of running away from this like deep dark fear of feeling like there might be something wrong with him. And I think that was definitely something that we all latched onto and tried to explore in the movie.
If we go to your pre-Sheridan college self, when you're like little Domi and you're walking around with your sketchbook, like, can you paint me a picture of what that kid was like and how those feelings manifested?
Yeah, I remember, I was always like, in elementary school, I was a little bit more boisterous, I was a little bit more talkative, but around middle school, like, once you hit puberty, you really start to, like, be a little bit more self-conscious. I explored a lot of this in Turning Red, but what I didn't really talk about in Turning Red was kind of, like, that feeling of isolation, because in middle school, I developed a stutter, and that really, like, closed me off, and I really, like, dove into drawing kind of as a way to escape. And I feel like for Elio, that's space. For him, like, aliens and getting abducted and space, like, that's his escape. He literally wants to escape, and it was just such a great opportunity to explore that feeling that a lot of kids kind of have at that age, and they escape in so many ways, like if it's an interest, a passion, a TV show, or getting abducted by aliens.
Totally. He's also, he's such a lovable oddball. Like, he's so weird. And those, when you're a kid and you feel alone like that, it's one thing. But we can all look at the film and say, like, what a lovable dude. What's the key to creating a lovable weirdo central character in a movie?
That's a great question. It's really hard to create characters who are lovable but also, flawed, because we want to see them go on a journey. We want to see them grow and learn. And coming of age stories too, like the protagonist has to start in kind of an immature place and kind of mature in some way by the end of the story. But even when they're immature, we as the audience have to love them and get on board with their mission and their journey. And I think it was just a lot of throwing spaghetti against the wall to kind of see what sticks, like what will make us kind of get on board quickly with a character who's obsessed with getting abducted by aliens. I think we knew from the beginning that that was going to be his quirk and that was going to be his obsession, but it took a while to get under the hood and understand why he wanted to get abducted by aliens so badly. What was he trying to escape from? It required a lot of, like, kind of looking internally within ourselves, and also we talked to child psychologists. We did some research on, like, how children deal with grief, with, like, the scenario of losing both your parents, what that would do to you. And I remember the prologue for the movie, when we first meet little Elio and his aunt Olga, and they're at the Space Museum, and we get to actually experience Elio's, like, spark ignite for the very first time, like how he fell in love with space. It really, it was an aha moment for us, because we put that sequence in and we realized, oh my gosh, like, I immediately understand now that space is, it helps heal him. Like, it's like this salve, it's this like hope for him, because he was so alone and he felt so unwanted before. But I understand now why he's so obsessed with space. And then you're on on board with him, even as he's doing the weirdest, craziest stuff for the rest of the movie. You understand that all of that is coming from, you know,